I'm Bayer from Next Best Picture, and we are talking with Felicity Jones and Guy Pearce, two of the stars of The Brutalist. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very excited to talk to you both about this film, and I wanted to start with Felicity, who, you previously played the wife of someone in a wheelchair in The Theory of Everything, and I'm curious what it was like being on the opposite side of that equation, having to give a performance largely in a wheelchair.
Well, Elizabeth is suffering from malnutrition. You realize that she's gone through immense trauma before we meet her in the second half of the film. And when she arrives, much like Laszlo has been waiting for her arrival, so too have the audience, because in that first half we hear her voice and we understand the incredible connection that the two of them have. And it's actually been 8 years since they last saw each other. So in that moment when they first see each other, there's so much love and so much sort of relief in being reunited. But at the same time, you have these two people kind of having to get to know each other again and figuring out who the other person is. And they're almost being a little overly polite with one another. So yeah, from the very beginning of reading the script, there are a lot of intricacies to their dynamic.
Yeah, absolutely. And moving on to Guy, your entrance in this film is incredibly memorable. And considering
Always good to make a good entrance, I find.
absolutely. And considering how this film just gets more and more intense as it goes, were you ever concerned about going too high right off the bat? And how did you compensate for that?
Well, I think any compensation is infused in the script in that we get to see many sides of this character and including a more sensitive side. So it was great to actually sort of explode into the story in this way, and then literally within the second scene that I'm in, we see a totally different side of him. So it's good sort of it's a good opportunity to unnerve the audience. I think because they don't kind of know what they're going to get from him at any moment.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun to watch where he goes. Much has been made about how director Brady Corbet was able to achieve so much on such a relatively small budget and for this film. And I'm curious for both of you what your perspective was as an actor as to how he ran the set.
Well, he's always very relaxed, despite it being quite a limited budget and the kind of complications of putting something of this scale on the screen. But I mean, the film took about 8 years to get made, so I feel from the very beginning, Brady and Mona, who wrote the screenplay, they were very sure about what they wanted to make. And we felt that confidence. We knew that when we came to set, we had to be very prepared. We knew that we were shooting on film, so we wouldn't have endless takes. And I feel like there was a certain amount of it was a nerve-wracking process. You're right, we hadn't rehearsed, and we just knew in that moment on film we had to perform.
But as you say, he was very relaxed, so he made us feel all at ease on set. He's really great to work with.
We were nervous, and he was just chilled. He's like, "You'll be fine. You got it, guys."
Yeah. And I think because he's been an actor himself before, and a really good one, he understands actors very well and knows how to just let us go about our
he doesn't
process.
he doesn't get too molecular, does he? He lets you find it.
Yeah.
I like that he doesn't get too molecular. That's a nice way of putting it. But you said
molecular director.
So bad.
well, you said something, Felicity, like how you guys didn't have a whole lot of rehearsal time for this, and both of you build such strong, specific relationships with Adrien Brody as Laszlo. And so, since you didn't have much time to rehearse, I'm curious how each of you went about building that relationship with him. I mean, and with everyone else in the cast too, but specifically with Adrien.
Well, it's sort of just the discussions you have and what's already there in the script, and I think one of the tasks that an actor has to manage to sort of achieve is to be able to kind of come in straight away. I mean, obviously, if you're working in theatre, if you're doing a play, there's a lot of room and time for developing things. And as Felicity will attest to, that you'd been involved. You'd had this script for a year or two
Couple of
before.
years, yeah.
So you'd had time to kind of let the character sink in and absorb to a degree, and I had, I think 6 months or something. So that's sort of where a lot of your work gets done, really, just in letting it sink in. But then when you turn up, you've kind of got to be ready to go, and you're learning on your feet a little bit.
And you're sort of figuring it out. The dynamic, what you're seeing on film is us also figuring out the dynamic. I think that's what makes it quite, explosive to watch, is because we, in that way that, we had worked together before, but playing these characters, we didn't really put them together until we were on film doing that scene when they first meet over the dinner table. And so we just kind of went off what the other person was giving us.
Yeah, and and that's where you fully have trust in your director, who will steer things in certain directions, and if you go off onto another movie or off on a tangent, then he'll bring you back. So he was great, Brady, in keeping us all in line.
But I think it is the discussions before that make you feel that make you feel like you have ownership over the character, so that by the time you do get to set, you do feel a certain amount of confidence, because he'll have headed you off in the right direction in those discussions.
Yeah, it's fantastic work, and I know we're at the end of our time together, but I have to ask, there's so many great spaces that you guys get to inhabit in this film. Some designed by Laszlo, some not, and I'm curious for each of you, quickly, which space would you most like to live in?
Oh.
In the film.
Yeah.
From the film.
It was pretty nice in Italy when we went there for the to see
Italy's always nice.
Yeah. I wouldn't necessarily want to live in a marble quarry, but it was
not very comfortable.
Not very comfortable, no. But it was pretty spectacular to be there.
Yeah, it's an incredible space, and there are many, and you two are so wonderful in the film. Thank you so much for your work, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
Have a great day, everybody.